How does the print service provider make profit from small value jobs? Let's say a business card order. Today we speak to Greg Young, again, about John the Plumber. John the Plumber isn't necessarily a customer, but more a business model. Welcome to the PrintPod, John the Plumber. Greg, welcome back. Been a while, although it still feels like yesterday. Strange. Today's about John the Plumber.
Sod him. Hang on. Hang on.
Who the hell's John the Plumber?
Oh, don't worry about John for now. I just want to say, how bloody professional is this place now?
Cheers, mate.
This is fantastic. Last time, Matt had disposable cameras.
Yeah.
And
Polaroids.
20 blokes with their phone cameras in the background to make it all lit. I've got nice boxes and twin cameras.
Yeah.
Fantastic. PrintPod is going from strength to strength, and just want to congratulate you on it because it's really good content.
Is it?
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's very topical, but a really good variety of topics as well. Yeah. So well done to all of you, and for Matt behind the lens because he does a fantastic job.
And Rodney.
And Rodney pulling it together.
Yeah. So,
but just on that, as you mentioned, welcome back. I was the debutante, wasn't I? I was the first.
Inaugural.
I was the first PrintPodee, and I'm expecting some kind of award today or presentation for coming back for number 2.
And your award is your invite.
Excellent.
For this session. So, but yeah, no, it's good you kicked us off. We've had customers on who share some amazing stories. We've met with Wayne Beckett recently, who shared sort of, he'll hate me for saying this, but a good 30 years worth of knowledge and experience. And we've had Drooper has been back, it's been really, really good. Still a crazy world out there, both sides of the pond, in Europe and in Americas as well. But you're going to share some interesting insights today, aren't you?
I'm going to talk about my friend John.
Okay, let's jump into John. Oh, as an actor said to a bishop.
Oh, there we go. So, John the Plumber's a persona, I suppose, that I came up with a couple of years back in trying to. It helps me in conversation when I'm in my flow with customers and we're working out what the strategy looks like for them to take their web to print to either up a notch or maybe even getting it off the ground. And a lot of the time, actually, John the Plumber helps me with brand new customers that we're still trying to introduce to web to print, because there's still a lot of PSPs around the world that haven't embarked on their web to print journey yet. And the premise of John the Plumber is essentially looking at customers that are not regular customers, they're not experienced print buyers. I did get confirmation I'm allowed to swear on this, so they're a pain in the arse to deal with at times, because let's take John the Plumber, right? Yeah. So he's just finished his day, he's been out and doing his plumbing, and he comes home and he realises that he's run out of business cards or a quoting form. Yeah. So what does John do? He's got home at 5 o'clock. Oh, I've missed the printers for today. I'll have to ring them in the morning. Then he rings them in the morning. John hasn't got a clue on how to create any artwork because he's a plumber. Yeah. So he says, I've created this file on Word. Can you print these for me? So we've
all heard it.
Well, we have, yeah. And I don't know what it should be printed on. I don't know how I want it finished. I don't know any of this. So there's so much back and forth. And at the end of it, John's ordered a set of business cards from you at 50 quid. And he's thinking, actually, have I made any money on that? And the answer is probably negative. And what I'm trying to portray to customers is utilising the web print technology to service those lower value customers, to turn them into a self-service customer, take away the traditional account management led approach, convert them into that kind of online customer. Yeah. And make them profitable, even on the fact they're only a couple of orders, potentially a year, and make those profitable orders. And I've heard so many positive stories whereby converting these onto storefronts, and you make their life easier because they finish at 5 o'clock. Once they who am I kidding? They finish at 3 o'clock and they're down the pub. But once they've come home from the pub, they want to place their order for their print. So they just log into this really easy portal, and I say, look, there's my business card. I need to type my name into it because it's got my template, and I click order. Don't need to worry about what it's printed on, how it's finished, how much it's going to cost, because all of that's pre-agreed. It's all built into the template already. And then, lo and behold, my business cards turn up a couple of days later and I'm job done. I haven't had to go back and forth. I haven't annoyed the PSP because it's the monotonous back and forth of, oh, my artwork's wrong. I didn't know what colour stock. And ultimately, it's time.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that a lot of the customers that I've spoken to, they've then... Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to turn John the Plumber away because you're losing revenue, right? But the amount of customers that have said to us, do you know what, by converting onto this model, it's unearthed more print jobs for us.
Right. Okay.
I think I mentioned this on my my previous visit here in the PrintPod, but when I was a customer and we went out and we built a storefront for a local car dealership. Mm-hmm. And we were sat there and all we had built on this storefront was purely business cards. And I'm sat there with my colleague Rob and looking around on the table, sat with the head of marketing, and on the table they had their brochures, they had pull-up banners like these behind us, they had vinyl banners outside, and the marketing lady we were dealing with, she went and grabbed something from the printer. So I turned around to Rob and I was like, why do we not print any of this stuff? And he was like, yeah, I thought the same. So when she comes back, he went, who prints these and why don't we do it? We stick it on the storefront. Oh, you don't do that, you only print business cards. And that was the mindset of the customer at the time, and I'm talking 12, 13 years ago, that the mindset was, oh, you're our business card printer, you're our leaflet printer, you're our vinyl banner printer, you're our pull-up banner printer. When actually, majority of people will be able to manufacture all those goods in one location. And the reason I'm telling that story is because it's an extension to the John the Plumber model, whereby, yes, John's business cards may be on a storefront, but putting more generic products that you as the PSP offer onto the storefront as a bit of a cross-sell. It is your shop window at the end of the day. So whilst John's only ordering his business cards, actually, if he sees you maybe got Christmas cards on there, oh, that'd be great. I can send out Christmas cards to all my previous customers and there we go. And it then starts to, that snowball effect, that picks up. You just don't know that one customer that might be the pain in the ass customer that's not spending much money with you, what opportunity that could lead to 12, 18, 24 months down the line. So therefore, you don't want to lose that revenue. You want to keep that secured, but in a more efficient and a profitable way.
Okay, so first of all, you've answered my first question.
Apologies. I just went off then, didn't
I?
No,
it's brilliant. Why John the Plumber? I get it now. But let's take that one step further. So let's take Joe the chef.
Yeah.
Right, Joe the chef runs a restaurant, okay? He's used John the Plumber to fit all the sinks and stuff, obviously. But Joe the chef now is also a pain in the arse, okay? Because let's face it, these people are very much focused on their day-to-day and they don't really understand the knock-on effects of the world we work in. But Joe the chef has a platform, and what you're saying is Joe the chef would log into this platform and would have banners for promotions in front of the restaurant, menus that he can reprint, he can change himself or his team can change. So they'd have
creating that one-stop shop that they can interact with when they're ready to on their terms.
And are you finding the diversification or the adding of additional products for the customers that you're having success with is helping in the current climate, because things are a bit rocky out there?
Absolutely. But there's obviously still an element of reservation of ordering printed items, although we are seeing, and thankfully we're starting to see that return. And when I'm in a fairly privileged position in my role, I talk to PSPs and manufacturing organisations all around the world, and it is changing regionally, I'd say, at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're by creating everything under one roof, they need to go to one location with a seamless ordering experience, and they know that if they place their order when it's going to turn up, it makes their life so much easier, because it's not the worry of, oh, I've run out of menus or I've got an offer that I need to stick on the front window. They know that they can do it all in one place. And especially in these situations, is using our Mega Edit product, for example. They can go on and do the personalisation themselves. They're not reliant on a third-party designer to come up with something. The designer might have been involved initially to design like the base template, but then Joe or John, they're logging in and they're just working on top of the template and saying, yep, that looks good, check out, job done, files created, and off it goes to production. So
again, I know we touched this in your first visit. Successful web to print is a term that you champion. Your whole persona, your whole motivation is to help the customer either sell, improve, perform. Like everything is revolved around that, which is fantastic. Do you feel that, or have you seen, probably is probably a better question, when the customers embrace this John the Plumber style approach, that they're actually making a customer which was a pain in the arse, now pulling them in closer, keeping them sticky, Is that something you can
nail on the head?
Yeah.
Absolutely nail on the head. And we use the term making our customers sticky internally to us.
Yeah.
And we feel that the deeper and the wider an implementation of Infigo is within an organisation, the more difficult it is for the end user, the consumer, to go, I'm going to go elsewhere. Because if we provide the tools to our customers to make it that fantastic experience. We often talk about like the Amazon style experience. Everyone fires up Amazon on their phone or goes on their laptop, and within 10 minutes you found the item, checked out, had 2 emails telling you it's been placed and it's about to be shipped
by a drone.
And 15 minutes later it's on your doorstep. But they've kind of set they've almost set up the bar.
Yeah.
And
high.
They have set the bar high, but they've also, I think, set a precedent in terms of how ordering process and ordering journey looks like. And it's our job to make sure that we continue to push the envelope from the print angle to make sure that we're encapsulating that part of it. And I think the more that we can make our customers feel at ease in the platform, the more it solidifies the relationship between them and our customer, and ultimately that solidifies a relationship between our customer and ourselves.
Okay, so I'm going to go on to the Amazon experience in a second, because there's a couple of things I want to ask you about John the Plumber and that whole model. When we were in America last year, Greg, I think you and I touched on this before. We had previous customers in the US and new prospects coming over to us saying, "Hey, a B2B storefront like Infigo is what we need. We really need this because we've got so many customers we want to keep sticky." So in America, we've definitely seen that the PSP has grasped the power of web to print platform, not in terms of a B2C, but B2B2C.
Yeah.
A
lot of I'm going to flip my response on its head a little bit here. So a lot of organizations come to Infigo and say, I've come up with this great idea. I want to start a B2C site.
Yeah.
And look, we don't want to block anyone's dreams, but ultimately, at times it can just be a dream. And what we're trying to help educate and guide and use our professional experience to advise upon is, look, let's start with a B2B storefront where it's to a customer or a user you are already having a relationship with. You know how they expect things to operate. You know what their products are.
Yeah, sure.
You know what the pricing is. Because it's B2B, you don't need to then have investment for marketing activities, etc. And so that helps on the web. And I think that's an important point. Web to print. There's 2 functions here. Web capturing the order, but often the forgotten element is the to print, and that's actually how the manufacturing process then kicks it. So with going back to let's push B2B first prior to B2C, it also allows you to iron out what production looks like, because it can be a real change internally and a real battle if people are stuck in their ways, and unfortunately a lot of people in our industry are stuck in their ways.
Yeah. If
all of a sudden your press minder is used to a file dropping down and being handed a physical job bag, and then the next day he gets an alert on his DFE to say job 1, 2, 3, 4 is ready for production, or maybe even further than that, it's already imposed and sat waiting to go, and he's got to go and stick some paper in tray 3 kind of thing, reload the stacker. Then it's a real mindset shift, and you referenced my hashtag successful web to print a second ago, and that's something that came about when I used to deliver the pre-COVID, used to deliver a web to print workshop for HP, and it's something I want to expand upon in a second. But one of the parts of that was in the presentation we talk about web to print's a real culture change, and it is, and it's people have got to think across the whole business how web to print changes their individual role. A lot of people's perception is, it's just web to print's just this new thing of taking an order. It doesn't affect me because I work in accounts, or it doesn't affect me because I work in sales, whatever that might look like, or I work in marketing. It's only pre-press and production that need to worry about it, because pre-press typically will build the sites and production manufacture the goods. Actually, it goes around the whole business. So that
brings me on to my next point, because you mentioned profitability in small value jobs.
Yeah.
So surely for that profit to be there, surely for John to be able to log in when it suits him, that the web to print journey needs to be automated into a very good workflow.
Yeah.
And I think we spoke before about a customer in Canada or the US who was making profit on $150 jobs, but he invested heavily in the back end behind the web to print side of things. So he wasn't touching anything. So the Johns of this world would.
Absolutely. So I on my notes here, I've got 4 words written here. Bit of a no shit Sherlock on this one here. Maximise profitability through efficiency.
Okay.
Right.
David Brent.
But honestly, like that seems so simple. We're going to make these jobs more profitable by being more efficient. Well, yeah, of course you are. But what does that actually mean? Well, the one that you referenced then. So one of our US clients, they had a long-standing customer that was very much the traditional account manager-led approach.
Okay.
And last summer, I got a phone call from the general manager, and he went, "Greg, I just need to tell you something." I was like, "Go on." He goes, "We've achieved it." And I was like, "What's the it?" And he said, "Well, when we first did the onboarding with you, this was one of our goals, and I'm talking 4 or 5 years ago now. And I thought it had maybe changed priority, but ultimately it was still bubbling away in the background." And he said, "We've done it." He said, "We've made profit on a $20 business card order."
Ooh.
And I was
$20.
And I was like, that's fantastic, because I knew how much it was hurting them. They're a high volume printer, and I knew how much that was hurting them by not making decent profit margins on a $20 business card order, almost using it as a loss leader to get the other jobs off of these organisations. And they, as I said, long-term Infigo users, so the Infigo side of things was fine, but the missing link was how they made the web to print more efficient. So they used our Connect Flow module, and they pushed the job XML into Infocus Switch.
Yeah.
Switch then takes out so many of the manual steps that were being utilised previously, and they're imposing it, sending it straight to the DFE, and then the first thing that it bypasses pre-press because Switch has handled that, and then the press minder is manufacturing the goods. And it was like, for them, this was a really pivotal moment in their Infigo journey. And it's a story to tell a lot of people. And in my role is a lot of the time it's a storytelling role, because if I see success in another customer, I want to be able to share that with other people to hopefully inspire them to think, actually, I want to slice of that pie. How do I make my print shop in that same
so
vein?
So you're an educator, because I know you also taught me to share some of the lessons learned. So I'm working on something for customers at the moment that gives them a guide that they should think about before they launch or even think about investing in the B2C site. And that's through learnings from yourself, where you've taken customers on. And I think you just referenced it literally 2 minutes ago. If you're going to have a B2C project, then embrace the B2B first to do your learnings and, get your feet under the desk. So you'll become a bit of an educator, would you say?
Yeah, and I think I've been using web to print now for 14 years. So I'd say I was a fairly early-ish adopter of it. And then obviously been with Infigo now for 10 and a half years. And I've seen the things that work. And I've seen the things that unfortunately haven't quite worked out for one reason or another. And if I can educate and inspire one customer, then I feel like I'm giving back, kind of thing. So I think it's a really important part of it. I mean, going back to the hashtag successful web to print. So as part of that workshop for HP, we had 2 icebreakers at the start of the day. And the first thing was, tell me from your organisation, if someone said, what's successful web to print, what would that mean to you? And everyone came up with different things. Someone might be, we onboard customers quicker. It might be we want to generate X amount of revenue. It might be we want to process X number of orders. Everyone had different thoughts on it and different mindsets. And we asked this as part of our onboarding now. Or I say now, we've done it the last 3-4 years. And it's something that we get customers to really quantify up front, and it allows us from a customer success and a growth angle to evaluate how someone is using Infigo and what more we can do with success planning and coaching for them to strive to achieve it. And the other thing that we did at the workshop, the second icebreaker, was what we call the Touchpoint challenge. And for anyone listening that is maybe thinking about web to print, or you're a current web to print user and you're maybe not overly happy with it, whether that's with Infigo or another supplier, strongly recommend doing this. It's the most basic thing. Go and get yourself a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle of it, and at the top of the line, order inquiry, and at the bottom of the line, goods received in hand. and just draw every single time there is an interaction, whether it's someone touching the job in production, whether it's a phone call, whether it's replying to an email, whether it's it's gone for an approval workflow and it's been rejected, and therefore an account manager has to pick it back up again and contact to the customer and do all of those loops. Drop it down on a big line. Send it in to us. I've just offered us a service here. We'll analyse and review it for you.
Consultancy.
Look, we'll do it. We are here to try and guide people on their journey, and if we can help people become more efficient there by overlaying our technology on top of what their manual processes look like.
Yeah.
So look, the offer's there. Do that challenge. It doesn't take long. It takes you half hour.
Touchpoint challenge.
Touchpoint challenge.
Yeah.
Maybe, why don't we, Mr. Marketing, can we make a template and we'll make it available as a download with the podcast?
Love that.
Just line going down, start here, finish here. But no, it's a really good challenge, and we actually we had an Infigo customer in the room with us the most recent time we did at HP that we did the Touchpoint challenge. And the poor guys that were representing their business, they weren't anything to do with the Infigo implementation, and they were devastated when they realised out of everyone they had the most touch points.
Was it like a map?
Oh, it was crazy. And cast my mind back here. They were something like 50-ish touch points on a single order.
What?
And I'm going back to my $20 business card order at Profitability, and someone's touching from start to finish this order. There's 50 different touch points in it. You just think
somebody in that business needs to look at that and take some responsibility. You know, that's not good.
I think that's a big part of it. And I think it's a really simple exercise, but with a massive benefit.
So we have a plethora of partners. And that's one of the things I'm very proud of, is that we offer our system, but we don't just sell our system out the box and leave you to it. We have your team who are fantastic in terms of onboarding and sharing those educational pieces for lessons learned and guiding the customer on their way. But we have a plethora of partners, and those partners for me are what adds that extra piece of value. So you mentioned Infocus. We've had Infocus under the hood now for
6-7 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
So we have Pit Stop embedded. We've got an OEM partnership with the team at Infocus, and we've got Pit Stop embedded into our product.
Yep.
Which are essentially, from a high level, it will allow end users to upload their assets either as an upload product or into our editor to use the asset on a template. We'll pre-flight the assets up front. So rather than a lot of other systems whereby pre-flighting is done downstream, we're doing it up front so that it doesn't clog up production. It means that before the order's even been generated or paid for, that we'll pre-flight it based on whatever the pre-flight profile is asking it to do. So we have, as I said, we've got Infocus Pit Stop running in our product, we'll pre-flight everything and anything.
So John the Plumber uploads his artwork. Not in a Microsoft Word format, but a PDF, hopefully. But he uploads it at midnight onto the PSPs site, which is an Infigo platform. And then Infocus under the hood then pre-flights the artwork. So therefore, we've already removed one touch point straight away.
And with that, but with that Infocus, we can either do we've got three options really with it. So it's either going to accept the artwork because it's met all the parameters. It's going to reject the artwork. And with the rejection, then there's an additional layer, which is, again, the intelligence of what Infocus will do for us is, dear Mr. Customer, on your storefront will pop up, would you like me to try and fix these errors for you? Maybe they haven't embedded the fonts correctly, or maybe there's no bleed on it. And it will use the intelligence of Pit Stop to fix that PDF and therefore allow it to go down to the next stage. Because going back to John hasn't got a clue what adding bleed is or how to properly embed a font, or maybe he's done it in 𝐼GB rather than 𝐁𝐸. But relying on technology to overcome a hurdle is the way that John's then going to get his order through.
And so we're one step closer to making John a profitable customer rather than a pain in the ass.
Yes, that's him.
So on Infocus, we are going to be launching our new Infocus module, or shall I say we'll be joining the Infocus App Store. And officially that will be launched at Printing United in September.
Fantastic.
So I'm very excited about that. As you say, 7 years they've been under the hood. But they're quite a powerful partner for us. And
I had a good conversation with my friend Davey.
Yes.
At Drooper, and he had a great big grin on his face, telling me he's got his new role and leading the way with the App Store at InFocus. And he ultimately just said that more and more PSPs are going this route, and by positioning ourselves as part of that App Store, like the volume of our customers that are using InFocus technology within their print shops, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, and growing. Yeah. No, that's great news. I'm very excited that we can bring that to Print United. So hopefully with a bit of sparkle as well. Okay, so John the Plumber. So it's all about integration, automating, making life easier for the plumber, being that sort of translation between somebody that has no idea really of how things work, but making life easier for both sides.
I've actually missed a really important part about John the Plumber.
Have you?
Yeah, that was a bit of a fail on my part.
He's not a plumber? Or
he's not a plumber. the one of the big parts of this is John goes on a shared storefront.
Right.
So he doesn't have his own dedicated storefront. He goes on this shared entity, which means that in terms of onboarding Paul the plasterer and Joe the chef and Eric the electrician, it's a much simpler route to market for you as the PSP, because you're not building a storefront from the ground up and branding it as John the Plumber, because he doesn't warrant having his own fully branded storefront if he's only buying from you twice a year. Like, that's just a complete waste. So instead, if you embrace our access permissions functionality within our platform, and be able to build our access rules are based on John logging in, only sees John's business card, as well as those 4 generic products that I mentioned earlier, your pull-up banner, maybe your Christmas cards, your quoting pad, and whatever the next thing is. So you've got your John-specific template or products, and then your generic ones on the storefront. And there is no limit to the number of John the Plumbers you then stick on that one storefront. We've got one customer that has taken this model, and don't get me wrong, their end users are not John the Plumbers. They're much more mature organisations that are regular print buyers. One storefront servicing 195 different end businesses through this one.
That's fantastic.
Storefront. And what they have seen was, in fact, I think their biggest cross-pollination product, as we kind of discussed with them, so that additional product on the storefront, which is more generic, is actually year-end calendars. So they then offer it as corporate gifting. So someone's going on and ordering maybe they're going onto the storefront to personally order Christmas cards, but actually they then go, we'll do some desk calendars for our clients for next year, and they use that. And that for them is a model that's really worked. So the shared storefront approach means you're only skinning up one site, you're only branding one site, configuring that one site, but actually the onboarding is setting up John's template, setting up John's user, setting up John's access rules. John, here you go and log in and order yourself whatever you need.
Anything.
Allow us to interrupt this broadcast with a short ad break. Artificial intelligence in print. A brave new world, or AI Armageddon? Automated workflows powered by AI algorithms can reduce manual labour, increase production speed, and minimise errors. AI systems can analyse print jobs and suggest cost-effective printing options, such as choosing the right paper, ink, and printing method to minimise costs while still maintaining quality. Plus, much, much more. But are we all at risk of being made redundant, with self-running print shops that require a fraction of the workforce, if not at all? In this white paper, we explore the potential risks and benefits of AI within the print industry, and how we can help you to maximise its potential. Access our white paper now and find out, what exactly do we mean by AI? What we perceive to be the positives and negatives of AI in print? The AI systems and tools that are already being implemented in print. What is the right balance in between? Download it now for free at infigo.net/white papers.
So Gregory, you're an avid cricket fan, player extraordinaire.
Yep.
We've had many a conversation about your weekend exploits and the cricket. I'm going to throw a googly at you now. We don't necessarily want the PSP to have all of their customers on a shared storefront, do we?
No.
So let's talk about something we're going to be launching this month, actually, July 2024. Infigo-Eco.
Yeah.
What happens with Infigo-Eco when a PSP launches a storefront?
Well, before we dive into Eco, let me give some context to your original point. So, yeah, absolutely nailing the head. Like, if we've got a customer that comes to us and they take the John the Plumber, the shared storefront approach, they're only using up one of their storefronts in their license. And I've genuinely had open conversation with customers that would say to me, Greg, commercially, how does this work for Infigo? Because you're not charging us any more by having lots of people on this one storefront. But we've got one of our customers based in London, and they've come up with a model for their organisation. And I make this very clear to other people I talk to. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. This suits their business, their size, their customers, their scale, where they base their, am I a dedicated storefront? And therefore I'm fully branded. I always use Coca-Cola as my example here. So your Coca-Cola come to you. Do Coca-Cola warrant having their own dedicated, fully branded, red and white skinned storefront, or are they going onto this shared entity? Chances are Coca-Cola ended up with their own storefront, and the shared one comes off the table, right? Whereas John comes along and he says, "Look, I'm going to order my business cards from you once a year. You're not going to invest a huge amount of time and effort in creating this storefront." So for them, they've got a tipping point essentially. So theirs is if your print spend per annum is up to £50,000, you go on the shared storefront. So therefore, it'll be branded as you as the PSP. So gregsprinters.com as the full branding. And then if you're spending over 50,000, so let's say your Coca-Cola's, okay, well, I know this is going to be a red and white branded storefront and
on brand,
and it's on brand. Now, for us, yes, it potentially prohibits customers outgrowing their license and looking to expand their license with Infigo, but it does mean greater adoption and deeper adoption of the product within their organisations. So if I have a shared storefront, and take the example I said a minute ago, with 195 different customers on there, if they ever thought about moving, they go to an event and someone sells them the dream and go, "Oh, our web to print platform is much better than yours. Why don't you move over?" Can you imagine what the upheaval of moving 195 customers, 195 sets of products, 195 sets of data from one platform to another? It then changes things. So yes, we would like customers to outgrow their license, but actually having deeper adoption of the core platform is my number one goal.
Okay, so your model really is look at the customer base of the PSP, fit the right solution around the customer type. So for example, you've got 150 customers, it could be 100 on shared storefronts, but 50 core bread and butter customers. Yeah, okay. You mentioned Coca-Cola, which is an interesting one, because one of our customers in London has Coca-Cola and Shell or brands to those sizes on their books, and they have dedicated storefronts. And one of the things I found really interesting looking at those storefronts is there's a set number of products which the marketing teams at, say, Shell have asked for, which they reorder on a regular basis. They are the branding's locked in by the marketing department, so anyone that's going on reordering knows that it's going to be correct. It's fully automated into, I believe they're also a HP user as well, and that no money changes hands because they're using the PO method. So there's no telephone calls, no emails. It can be done at any time of day. The branding's controlled.
It's international as well. So it's
there you go.
They are servicing it, and they're then they're actually manufacturing locally now. So they did do the global manufacturing from London and dispatch. Now they're doing more localized manufacturing.
Wow.
And that's worked quite nice for them. So going back to that little green initiative that you mentioned. Infigo-Eco. Little baby of mine and yours and Alex's.
I came into the business and you guys have already planted the seed. Boom.
No.
I could just see this had roots, not legs.
Oh, Christopher, stop it.
And I wanted it to blossom. So added some water to it, really. But let's go right back to the seed planting. So you and Alex, 2021, I think. Wasn't it?
I floated the idea initially in a management meeting and said, what if? So we've got a trigger that happens very, very regularly in our world, and that is customers launching new storefronts.
Okay.
So that's a trigger point of a customer's journey as they launch a new site. And I was like, we could use that as almost we do. We use that as a celebration. So every time that a customer launches a site, whether it's myself or Rob or someone else from a customer-facing position we'll openly congratulate customers and say, especially if they're a new customer, because it's a really big milestone for them. And actually, what more can we do about this? And as the world rightfully so, is becoming more focused on eco initiatives and green initiatives. We're not in the production game, so we're not looking at how we can. We've not got huge electricity overheads as a business. Obviously, our servers, AWS cloud service, AWS have their own eco initiatives, so there's not a huge amount we can input on that. But how can we impact it from our side?
Sure.
So we have integrated with a third-party platform, and don't get me wrong, we're not going to make a huge difference to the world. But if Infigo can play their part in it, so essentially every time a customer creates a new storefront and switches it from test mode to live mode, we'll go and plant a tree in a forest around the world, supporting a specific campaign. And the platform that we integrate with allows me to actually move my campaign around the world as well. So we'll support a region for a while, and then we'll say, actually, let's go and support this initiative. And it's just it's a nice little give back, I suppose, and a nice way of doing our bit to help the world.
The right thing to do, first and foremost. Like you say, we've made the conscious decision to move to AWS 4 or 5 years ago, and I think that's the right thing to do because they have their own initiatives. Yeah. So when a PSP launches a new storefront, automatically, trigger is sent to the third party and they plant a tree.
Yeah, all generated via an API. We'll go out to the third party.
Automated tree planting.
Yeah.
Web to tree.
Web to tree.
Love it.
And we are going to be filling you existing Infigo users that are listening to this. We are going to be filling your inboxes with celebratory messages every time that you do launch a new storefront, and we'll send you a congratulations, you just planted another tree.
Yeah.
And what I would say is we have alerts that hit our internal Teams platform. It's fantastic to see that the volume in which I get an alert saying your tree has been planted, the last 3 months, the cadence in which tree planting is happening is improving so much. And it's so good to see, because we've got like our virtual forest we can log into and see what the tree planting efforts look like and what the CO2 emissions are looking like and what impact we've had on the planet. And it's nice to see, as I said, albeit in a small measure, but if we can help celebrate that, and anyone that launches a web to print storefront and starts transacting through it should be really proud, because it's an achievement every time. Yeah. And it's our job as the supplier, as the vendor, to make sure that part of the journey is as quick and easy as it can be. And
I think it's going one step further, because I think also we're all very aware, trying to do the right thing. So I know Alex and Doug have driven over to see partners over in Belgium, and they've done it completely on the electric vehicles, which I think is fantastic. We're looking at driving over flying where possible and trying to do the right thing. I think Alex is also working on something else where potentially in the future the PSP can get a full breakdown on the
carbon neutrality of their order, and you can see the whole supply chain.
That's exciting. Yeah. So we are launching Infigo Engage at the end of July.
We are. We're launching lots, aren't we?
We are. We're very big. We're like NASA. Actually, we'd probably launch more than NASA, because they're quite lazy these days, aren't they? We're SpaceX, are we?
Call it NASA.
Go on then. Infigo Engage. What is it? So
we will be bringing to your inboxes and to your notification centres within your Infigo platform.
Very good.
A new regular publication from myself, just to give you an update of what's going on in Infigo, what I'm seeing within the world from a web to print angle. It's not going to replace, in terms of what I'm seeing at Infigo, it's not going to replace the amazing content that is produced by the Infigo Academy by Sam. I heard he sung my praises on the previous podcast episode, so I better say amazing content.
We actually edited it out.
Oh,
we took it out. Yeah.
For those listeners that aren't aware, so our Infigo Academy is our educational and training arm within the business.
Yeah.
And Sam Webster, our Infigo Academy manager, sends out a monthly monthly email to customers to let them know what we've developed this month, what new features are available, what improvements to existing features, etc. But Sam also runs a monthly webinar, which is a variety of topics. Now, both of those things are then really important as part of Engage, because despite me wanting to give a more rounded approach, maybe a bit more a strategic angle and less so from a product angle, there will be links to sign up to attend the webinars or make sure you're on the mailing list for the what's new emails. And then we're also going to be making sure that we're sharing to you where we're going to be in the world at certain times, if we've got events we're attending, but also for you guys to tell us if you're going to be at those events, and we'll make sure that we set time aside, and I know we'll go into this a bit more later, but make sure we set time aside to give you the dedicated time that you deserve. So Infigo Engage is going to be launching in this month in July, and give us feedback, let us know what you think. We don't want it to just be another email that lands in your inbox and it's not providing any value. We've got to make sure that everything we do is valuable, but I just want to make sure that enough people are getting the right content. Sam's webinars, for example, we've looked at a lot of the data, and a lot of our newer customers we've onboarded in the last 12 to 18 months are regular attendees. But more of our legacy customers, our older customers, longer term customers aren't really joining those events as much, and we want to try and change that. So if that's you, Mr. Long-term customer or Mrs. Long-term customer, please do come and join us on the webinars. We have one every month, an hour a month. We record all the content as well. It's available on our Infigo Academy YouTube channel. It's fantastic from me seeing customers interact with one another, and that happens regularly. Sam will be talking about something and a question will come into the chat, and before, we always do it in pairs, so Sam always leads it, but he'll have a subject matter expert or a champion in that particular area in the background answering the questions on the live chat, and more often than not, another customer will jump in before whoever's paired up with Sam on that will reply back to it. So brilliant initiative, really really nice way of us, again, communicating and interacting with customers. You'll see that on the Infigo Engage.
So it's a one-stop shop of everything that's going on at Infigo for the customer. Your thoughts and ideas, what's happened, catch up on what Sam's put out, catch up or be aware what's coming in the previous month as well. Podcasts, we'll have show information. So, okay, we'll look forward to that. I'm just going to quickly touch on shows, if I may.
Absolutely.
Let's move into 𝐷scoop. So I'm going to move about a little bit here now with my questions. 𝐷scoop. So you've been a fan, partner, advocate. There's so many words I could use. Ever since I've met you, Greg, you've always been a huge ambassador of 𝐷scoop unofficially. 2015, I think, was your first one. You now have a role at 𝐷scoop, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I've always championed 𝐷scoop as a community. Haven't been lucky enough to attend pretty much every event, every single one since 2015. Seen the impact that it has on our world, on our little part of the world as the industry, and seeing the togetherness. I think I've not written many notes on this, so I'm going to shoot off the hip, but the one word that I have written here is friendships. And I generally think that I've made the majority of my industry friends via 𝐷scoop. And I recently joined the Partner Advisory Council. We're always fairly, as a business, we're always fairly vocal over the years about both positive and negative feedback about maybe how their annual event was run or how things happen. Because a big thing at 𝐷scoop, people's perception of 𝐷scoop is it's an event that happens once a year, but it's not. 𝐷scoop is a community that just happens to have an annual get-together whereby thought leadership, all your partners come together, etc. Lucky enough to join the Partner Advisory Council, and it's only been a few months I've been part of it, but it's nice to be involved, and hopefully I can give something with my Infigo hat on, and I can give back that way. So fantastic community, and
it's a show that we always attend, or we should always attend, because of the existing customer base, prospects, partners. Very sad that you weren't at the recent Indianapolis event. It was a very good show, and you would have been very proud, and you would have enjoyed it. I've never seen so many partners, workflow partners there in one place.
Amazing.
It was just fantastic. But we're also championing something else with dscoop as part of what came out of Indianapolis, working with Mindfire, GPA, Precision Proco. We're launching a new sort of health and wellness. I won't give too much away because we're launching on the 25th of July. But basically, we're going to look at mental health, resilience, leadership, working parents, the next generation of leaders, work-life balance, vulnerability, and addictions. And these are something that came up at the last show where the membership was sharing struggles and people open up to one another and sharing, again, like you do with your customers, things you've learned and you want to pass that on. And that's becoming more and more important in the modern world.
Well, I think that epitomises dscoop, Chris, because it allows you, it's an environment, it's a community in which you can feel comfortable to share your vulnerabilities. And look, I know I said I wrote one word down on my sheet here, which was friendships, and obviously I was recently a drooper, and just saw this big excited grin from across Hall 17 walking towards me, and it was shout out to Matt at Fused in New Zealand. Not an Infigo customer, no, just someone that I met through dscoop many years ago. We might have had a couple of beers together one night, hit it off. Every year at dscoop, just a couple of quiet ones, a few noisy ones after that. But no, we met at dscoop. I think it was in Orlando we first met, and the famous crocodile, alligator experience. Story for another day. No, we met Matt then, and if I hadn't met Matt, I wouldn't have known who he was, and would never have seen this big grin walking towards me at Hall 17 at Drooper, and we had a manly hug, we had a catch up, and we chewed the fat for 15 minutes and told me how business was, shared some of his struggles, want to catch up, how's my family? And that's a friendship that I've genuinely created because of that community, and I think, as you mentioned, I wasn't at Indianapolis, and I know that that John was on stage and he shooting from the hip, and he went for it and opened himself up, and this is something that a lot of people look up to and aspire to be, and it's obviously a fantastic organisation that he's steering at the moment. And I think it's really important. You've obviously showed me the content that's going to get, and again, I won't even try and open it up. You showed me the content yesterday. I think it's fantastic. I think it's such an important initiative. Obviously, something culturally. If I take it back to Infigo, culturally, it's a thing that we have tried to really embrace the last few years. We've had our accreditations around best place to work. We've adopted the 4-day working week. We've provided guidance for staff. We've opened up opportunities with the printing charity to support our people, and I think it's so important because without your people, you're nothing, right? So I think what you and the gang are looking to launch is so important, and I'm proud to see there's an Infigo logo endorsing the content that you've put together.
That's nice to hear. I think the biggest thing we're aware of is that, and let's just take the dscoop member base and attendees, is at a crossroads, and we're at a point where you've got the 50-year-old dude who predominantly has been the print industry, and then you've got this opportunity for talent and the next generation to come through, and dscoop are very good at this with the students that they bring in, right? So what we want to do is not only help those 50-year-old dudes, as to coin a phrase, that have built industry to where it is today, because they're the guys that pretty much are struggling with paying the bills, dealing with the situations from COVID or the economic climate. But we also want to change it so it's a modern working place, so more female leaders. The 50-year-old dudes know how to let go and hand over the baton to the next person.
Absolutely.
The students have got a pathway to management, entrepreneurialism. So it's a mixture of topics. We call them pillars, and the idea is that we're going to get industry experts in to share their thoughts and guidance and tools, and hopefully we're going to have a series of resources that we can share with the community. But dscoop are backing it, and we'll have a series of webinars in the run up to Long Beach next year, which I'm hoping you're going to be at this time.
I'll be there.
No more children.
No more children.
That's what you think. And I just, I think that we've all got to invest in the dscoop community. The more we put in, the more we get back out. So,
and I think that's been prevalent since day one. Like I won't bore everyone to death about our journey from Infigo and 𝐿 and how that's grown. But yeah, it's just a community that we have invested a lot into over the years, both in the financial investment, but also the time investment that whether working on an initiative with HP to run at the event, or whether it's something in collaboration and being on the dscoop app. Like, this is stuff that we want to be part of because we can see the real value that it gives to the delegates that are attending the event. So,
and as I said earlier, the dscoop events for me are full of partners, full of customers, and full of prospects. It's a win.
It hits all of your angles. So yeah.
So staying on the lines of roles at dscoop. Or new roles at dscoop, or new roles in general. Your role at Infigo after 10 years, is celebrated 10 years at Infigo this year.
I did.
Your role's changed at Infigo. Would you like to share what you are? Or what
head of grey hair.
Head of grey hair.
What I am now, I think.
I think there's a competition for that here.
No, so my role has recently changed, and I have been promoted into head of customer experience. So that's going to encompass customer success that I'm currently heading up. Will also take over responsibility of the support angle, which is actually where I started my Infigo journey, was running the support team. So Hannah still remains running the support team, but under the customer experience umbrella now. We've also got the Infigo Academy, which was part of my remit anyway. And there's a couple more areas which will be announced at a future date to be expanded into my understanding, well, my overseeing as well. So really excited by what that can, or what it's going to mean, and what I will be doing. We've undertaken a new kind of business management process ideology called EOS, and as part of that, we've made sure that we are putting the right people in the right places, ready to continue to scale and grow our business and continue that journey that we've been on. So there's been a slight shuffle about in certain areas, and I'm really looking forward to it. Look, ultimately, in my role, as I touched upon earlier, if I can help customers more strategically, so rather than the day-to-day, you've got this setting wrong, or you've done this, or I'd advise you do that, actually looking more strategically at these people. If I can inspire customers to get more out of their platform, sharing my stories. Once I get going about, like, I don't stop.
All things
I bleed Infigo, don't I? So if I can inspire people to do something different with their Infigo implementation, then that's also part of the role. And ultimately, I need to help our customers achieve their goals.
You do,
and that's why I've got to make sure that the team supporting the customer, the team are putting success plans in place for customers. The team are educating our customers as well. So brilliant. Really looking forward to the challenge it's going to bring. It is going to be a challenge, but yeah, really excited by it.
And it's a no-brainer really, because you've been a customer, you've worked on obviously the support side of things, you've worked tirelessly in the last couple of years of customer success. You see everything. You go to the trade shows, which we'll come on to in a second, and you sometimes you even give the demo before the sale's won, and you take it the whole 9 yards, as it were. It's a no-brainer really, and it's good luck with that, and congratulations, well deserved. I mentioned the trade shows. We've got Print United on the horizon in September. You'll be there, so customers can see you there.
They will be able to. I will be there. If you are heading to Vegas, or if you're thinking about heading to Vegas, do it. Come and see us, and if you're not, let us know anyway, because I'm going to be out in the States for a few weeks.
Okay, so you're staying on afterwards?
I'll stay on afterwards, and I'll go and visit a couple of customers, maximising me being the other side of the pond with my eco hat on. Let's save on some travel. So we'll do it all in one hit, like I tend to do. So it'd be great to meet up with as many Infigo users as possible and share what we've going on, what we've got going on at the moment, and what's forthcoming as well. There's, as you touched upon earlier, there's a few exciting things that we're going to be launching. We won't give too many secrets away. Obviously, we've spoken about the InFocus Switch app that will be in the App Store, but there's a few more tricks up the sleeve.
And also down the road in Chicago, I mean, we're going to have a team at Label Expo.
We are.
Douglas, Alex, and a few others will be there launching some very interesting additions to our sort of workflows. So it's going to be a busy time, but I pick your venues wisely.
Yeah, if you're going to be at either, because they are on the exact same 3 days, which is really helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Organisers. Make sure that you do come by and see the teams, because we'll be very well represented. Fantastic to meet up with you all.
Thanks, Greg. Good luck. Well done.
Thank you very much for having me.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today on the PrintPod. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and consider subscribing to make sure you get all the latest from the world of print and marketing. Feel free to share what you would like to see in the next episode of the PrintPod in the comments below. For more behind the scenes content, don't forget to follow us on our social media channels in the links in the bio below.